Today, we're going deep into the heart of a ship, the engine room. This place is all about immense power. It's the thrumming core that pushes a massive vessel across entire oceans. But it's also the ship's most vulnerable spot, where just one tiny spark can explode into a full-blown inferno in a matter of seconds. We're going to break down step by step the anatomy of a rapid response to one of the most terrifying emergencies you can have at sea.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at what makes the engine room such a tinderbox. Then, we'll ride along for those critical first 60 seconds of an incident. From there, we'll see how the bridge takes command, we'll understand the grim decision to seal the space off, and finally, we'll get to the last resort, the final option, to save the ship.
So before we get into the whole response, we really need to understand the why. Why isn't the engine room just the heart of the ship? Why is it also basically a powder keg just waiting for a spark?
Yeah, we are not talking about a fire in a garbage can here. This is a Class B fire, which means it's fed by flammable liquids. We're talking fuel, we're talking oil. This kind of fire doesn't just burn, it flashes. It spreads with terrifying speed, and you can't just throw water on it.
Now, this is where it gets really crazy. The engine room is a perfect storm for a fire. You've got pressurized lines that can spray fuel into a fine mist, which is a fantastic accelerant. You've got engine parts that are hot enough to ignite that mist on contact. And to top it all off, you have these huge ventilation systems constantly pumping in the one thing a fire loves most, fresh air. It's a terrifyingly perfect setup.
So, let's jump to the moment of ignition. The response doesn't start with a committee or a big meeting. No, it starts with the split-second actions of just one person.
This is it. This is the call that changes everything. And listen to it. It's not a scream for help. It's a precise, professional report from someone under incredible pressure. They give the location, the source, a ruptured fuel line, and the fire type. That one short transmission gives the bridge every critical piece of information they need to kick off a ship-wide response. You know, before the rest of the crew even knows there's a problem, the engineer on watch is already fighting. Their training just kicks in, and it's a precise sequence. First, starve the beast. You shut off the fuel valve. Second, you fight it. You hit it with a portable foam extinguisher to try and smother the flames. And third, you sound the alarm for everybody else.
That one urgent call rockets from the engine room straight to the nerve center of the ship, the bridge. And just like that, a local problem becomes a coordinated, ship-wide battle for survival.
So this is the key question, right? How do you get a crew of dozens of people spread out all over this massive ship to act like a single, well-oiled machine in just a matter of seconds?
Well, the answer is simple. Absolute command and control. The officer of the watch, the OOW, basically becomes the conductor of an orchestra in crisis. From that spot on the bridge, they coordinate every single action. At this point, survival depends entirely on getting the whole crew to work as one.
And the orders, they come fast. Bang, bang, bang. The general alarm goes off, telling every single person on board what's happening. Then you start containment. Kill the ventilation, seal the fire flaps. That starts to choke the fire of oxygen. A fire team is assembled, not to go in, but to cool the walls from the outside. And then, the most important step of all, a head count. Is everyone out? Is everyone safe?
Okay, the situation has changed. The first attack with a portable extinguisher, it didn't work. The engineer is out, the door is sealed shut. Now comes the really hard decision, to abandon the direct attack and seal the engine room completely, turning it into a steel tomb to contain the fire.
So these flaps are the very first line of defense when it comes to containment. By slamming these shut, the crew is literally cutting the fire's lifeline of fresh air. A fire that can't breathe is a fire that can't grow. This is step one in turning the engine room from a raging furnace into an airtight box.
And this is just brilliant, is where the ship's own structure becomes a tool. The vessel is designed from the ground up to contain a fire. These special A60 rated doors and walls, they are built to hold back intense heat, smoke, and flames for a full 60 minutes. That buys the crew precious, life-saving time.
Now this is a fascinating strategy. You see, steel is a fantastic conductor of heat. So even if the flames are trapped in one room, the heat can travel right through the walls and set something on fire in the next room over. So the fire team starts spraying water constantly on the outside of the room to pull that heat away, keeping the steel strong and stopping the fire in its tracks.
All right, all personnel are accounted for. The space is completely sealed. Boundary cooling is in full swing, but inside, the fire is still an inferno. So now, we come to the last resort.
A plan so final there is absolutely no turning back. Look, the crew has done everything they can from the outside. That first foam extinguisher was used up, and the engineer made the right call to get out. The fire has won the first round.
So if you can't cool the fire down, you have to suffocate it. The entire strategy now shifts to removing that last critical piece of the fire triangle, oxygen.
This is the ship's ultimate weapon. It's a huge bank of CO2 cylinders all piped directly into the engine room. When someone hits the button, it floods the entire space with carbon dioxide gas. CO2 is heavy, it's inert, and it literally pushes all of the oxygen out of the room. No oxygen means no fire. It is brutally effective.
But, and this is a huge but, this system is just as deadly to people as it is to fire, and that's why the release protocol is so incredibly strict. A full and final headcount has to be confirmed. A loud, unmistakable alarm sounds throughout the area, and only when the master is 100% certain that space is empty do they give the final command to release the gas. When it's all said and done, you realize that all of this, the technology, the procedures, the international regulations like SOLAS, it's all just theory on paper. The one thing that makes it all work in the chaos and the heat of a real fire, the thing that closes that gap between the plan and reality, is relentless, realistic training.
And that really brings us to the biggest takeaway here. The CO2 system, the A60 bulkheads, the alarms, they're all just tools. The single most critical safety system on any ship isn't made of steel or wires. It's the crew, a well-drilled, calm, coordinated team. But it does make you wonder, right? In an age where we're moving more and more towards automation, how do we make sure that this human system always remains the strongest link in the chain?